Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Disc Golf Answer Man. Where should I be training my eye to look when driving or other distance throws? Everything except putting. Should I be looking where I want the disc to go, at the disc, or at my tacos?
That's what he said.
Or something totally different. I added the tacos.
Yes. Great question, Mr. No Name. I think this is a very common, maybe not misconception, but mistake that players make is that they think about, all right, here we are out at Jones East Hole 2, right? Big open hyzer. You're throwing it over some trees. And I think a lot of people think that if they look at where they're trying to land the disc, that's where their eyes should go. And I think that is incorrect. I think the best place for you to look is at the apex of the throw that you're throwing. So if you're throwing a big hyzer, on a hole like that, you're probably going to be looking up at a tree that's kind of to your right, maybe pick out a leaf, or if that's too low, maybe a bit in the clouds or something like that. But that's where you want to look because that's your aiming point, right? If you're looking at the basket, then you're kind of just guessing where you're aiming, but your aim point always needs to be the apex of the throw. If you're throwing perfectly straight, then yeah, you can just look at your target and throw perfectly straight. On shorter throws, that doesn't come as much into play, especially very, very short straight shots like putter approaches and things. But then the opposite is true if you're throwing an anhyzer. If you're playing that hole 2, instead of looking up to the right for your aiming point, now you're looking up to the left, probably toward the trees on hole 3 or something like that. But yeah, that's where you want to aim, and that's where you want your eyes to go. So if you visualize the curve, where the curve is the highest and farthest out that it's going to be before it starts coming back to the basket, that's your aiming point.
Okay, so with that in mind,
yeah.
When are you looking at that? So you walk up to the tee. It's your turn to throw, obviously. You walk up to the tee. You take your breath. You're like, okay, I'm going to aim at that tree. You've picked the tree, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right?
Yeah.
Now you're getting ready. Now you're backing up.
Right.
To start your run up.
Yeah.
Are you still looking at the tree?
I am until I start taking my steps into my throw.
Okay, so you take your
you certainly don't want to keep your eyes on the target the entire time.
Right. So you're back. You take your first step. Is your eye still in the tree?
For me, probably once I start to turn my shoulders and everything away from the basket, that's when my head will turn away.
That's about when you're doing the X part of your other foot.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, something like that. Yeah, you certainly don't want to. I see Danny in the chat. This is correct.
Danny,
yeah,
you should be filming.
Yeah, cut it out,
You're out
Danny.
Filming.
He says you don't want to keep your head forward though. Your reach back should take your eyes off the target, or you might be rounding. Yes, obviously I agree with that. I'm talking about an aiming point, but when you're throwing, you can actually look back at the disc, and that sometimes will help you to not round. In fact, because when you reach back, if your head is back here and you watch the disc across your body, if you're rounding, you won't be able to do that because your head will be moving in front of the disc.
Okay.
So you can watch the disc through, and then once you let it go, just kind of pull your head up. I generally don't like to try and watch the disc the second that it leaves my hand, because that reinforces for me like trying to lead with my shoulders and my head instead of getting my elbow out there. That kind of looking up early makes me want to round a little bit too much.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
I thought it was interesting. I was watching a clip of was it the Memorial that was on the golf?
Yeah, that's right.
Was on this past weekend? Okay, so I was
Phil Mickelson had 2 drivers in his bag, one for cute little cuts and one to hit bombs. Really? The internet went crazy over that. They thought that was awesome.
I don't know who it was, but anyway, there was a guy hitting, and the commentators were commenting on the fact that the discipline he had. That he was because I always knew when you hit, you keep your eye on the ball.
Yes, that's right.
But even after he hit, they said the discipline of him continually to keep his head down, even as his swing went up, even after he hit the ball,
right?
And his swing went up, and then they said like the discipline to wait to watch for the ball once he completed the I'm assuming the follow through.
Yeah,
in golf,
it is really crazy to watch, and that's like. As an extremely amateur, will never be anything more than an amateur golfer. That's something that's hard to keep in mind. Like you can watch the ball until right when you clip it and then pick your head up. Right. But a lot of times that's pulling your body out of the motion that it's supposed to be in. And so one of the things that I've noticed watching professional golfers is how much their head is down over the ball until they're all the way through. And a lot of times the rule that they'll say is they want their back shoulder to pick their head up. So staring at the ball, and you can kind of do
wow.
with disc golf too. I heard Will Schustrick one time say, "Pull your head up early to watch your disc go out of bounds."
That's a good
Right.
way to put it.
So in disc golf, I think of it like when I'm pulling through, I want to keep my head down until my left shoulder kind of brings my head up, so that my body stays in the throw the entire time.
I thought that was
Great question.
interesting. Yeah.